certain tasks or actions. Okay. So the advantage of contextual inquiry is it often uncover unmet needs or hidden desire as compared to interview method. Okay. It is also a good way to discover how people think and talk about a given topic. Okay. Because from there you begin to get a view of how they work, how problems they encounter with their current system. Diary studies, like what is suggested, the name suggested, is like a journal. So you give the user time to record their daily encounter on a given topic. And the advantage is it uncovers elements that participants may have failed to review. Or when you are conducting a contextual inquiry. Disadvantages is very tiresome and take up a lot of time. Okay, usability tests. I need to evaluate how easy a product or service is used by having end user complete a set of typical tasks. So it can be tested on prototype or even a ready website. Okay, if you already have a product, you will be able to conduct the usability test on an existing product. It's also time consuming.
You go to your console.
So first from after you conduct different type of research, you'll be able to come up with a fictitious personas based on the information that you have gathered. So take for example, for your integrated project, you have Mr. Lim, right? You say he's how old he is, and then based on the questionnaires findings, you'll be able to come up with a figure that represents Mr. Lim. But it is not a real figure. It's just representing your major target group. Okay. So persona bounds together with scenario. Because a scenario is a contextual description of how the user interact, okay, with an aspect of a product or service. So you come up with a storyline for your character, for your persona. Okay. So let's move on to prototype. Prototype is a way where you'll be able to get the idea out of your head. Okay. There are different types of prototype. Low finality, which is low cost, like what the name suggests, and high finality. Okay, and high finality means high cost. So what do we have under low finality? Concept map, flowchart, storyboard. These are cheap to or low cost to produce. Be able to do it quickly with your pen or pencil, and it helps to focus a broader experience with a sequence of sketches. And it shows how a design solution will work for your target audience. So by doing so, you'll be able to find out details of certain steps you might have missed out when you were discussing with your teammate. So low fidelity prototypes also include wireframes. I hope you still remember the wireframes. Does wireframe comes with color? No color. Photos? No, wireframe no photos. So wireframe is basically black and white schematic drawing. No color, no images. Okay, then what's the purpose? It's basically to show the basic composition of elements for layout purpose. With that, your clients, your user will be able to visualize all the functional elements on the page based on this schematic layout. Yeah. So once the wireframe is confirmed, usually the wireframe process will take some time to finalize. Yeah, once it's finalized, then you move on to the mock-up. Mock-up means wireframe but enhanced with color. Okay. So wireframe is black and white TV. Mock-up is color TV. Yeah. So it gives the clients and development team an example of how finished website or application will look. So if the user did not click on it, they will thought this is a final website. That's how close a mock-up can be. Okay. Okay, once you're usually only after the client sign off on the mock-up, then we move on to the high fidelity prototype, okay, which is functional prototype. So by now you should be able to compare the difference between low fidelity and high fidelity. Because we've been through that. It's functional prototype more difficult to be done, to achieve. More difficult, right? To add interactions. Okay, so our advantages, they can be used to show operations of a particular key. Then it gives the user a better idea because they'll be able to connect one page to another. And it is also quicker to create a functional prototype than it takes to describe in text. Yeah. So the disadvantages, of course, take a lot of time. And clients may mistake a functional prototype for the real thing. Okay, visual framework.
Where is the index passing from?
So
Where is the index passing from?
when you are designing, there's one thing that play a very important part to the success of a website, which is the visual framework. Okay? Because a lot of users, okay, almost everyone still judge a book by its cover. So just like a magazine or a book, a lot of users judge the website or the visual of the homepage. If it's not professionally done, people might not have a confidence, the user might not have confidence with the web page. Okay, so it also represents the branding of your site, your company. So to achieve a good visual framework, the skeleton, the foundation is the grid system. So with good grid system, it will allow you to present the graphics, all the information in a consistent manner. Okay, provide a sense of uniformity, and grid might be could be very structured, but it has also flexibility for you to convey content in a different format, but it's a consistent style. Okay. So, do you still remember the 3 visual hierarchy trait? Very important. Must be more prominent. Okay. When you encounter these kind of questions, make sure you really make it prominent. Okay. If it's supposed to be prominent, make sure when you are sketching your design or answer solutions, make sure it is big enough to be different from the one that is smaller. Is that clear? Okay. So things that are related logically are also related visually. So one of the approach is to space them up. I mean, if you have the intentions to group them, then make sure you have sufficient space between them. Okay, so if you were to encounter these questions during exam, How are you going to present it? How? Do you know how to present your answer? Okay, the number one rule is do not squeeze more than one questions into one page. Okay, I have estimated the one booklet is more than enough to answer all your questions. Okay, so you should be able to allocate one question to one page. If possible, you can put them one A on one page and one B on the second page. Okay, so don't squeeze them and make it prominent. Things that are nested visually show that what's part of. So one of the way to do it is using bullet point. Okay, you can use bullet to show the nesting. Just the principles. Okay, describe how the mind actually organizes the visual data. Okay, we see whole picture and then we go into the detail. Why we need to understand this principle? Because actually from how will our mind perceive the information and through what we see compared to what we process, we lay out according to this method. How many of you still couldn't tell that this is proximity? Why is this considered proximity? Why? How many groups here? How many groups can you see from this image? Two. Why we can identify that there are two groups? Because there's actually a clear space between them. This is the proximity that
you Chinese要 got 3 days.
two groups. Okay.
Really?
Here. What about this? How many groups here? How many groups of objects can you see from this diagram? Can I say there are 3 groups? Two groups.
2 groups.
3 groups, right? Okay. So how we identify there are 3 groups? Because I see that this red is similar to this red. So consider this as one group. And the yellow, okay, is the next group. Then the blank one, 3 groups. So we group according to their similarity. How many groups here? 2 groups. How about the rest? How many say 3 groups? 4?
2.
Okay. There are 2 groups. But what is separating them is because of the continuous line, their alignment. So that's the continuity. How many groups here?
2.
2 groups. Because closure enable us to identify this and this as a separate groups. Okay, go to the diagram. You know what? This is one of the most simplest principle. Okay, it says that the R is actually read according to this gravity in a Z format. So it's highly recommended to position the most prominent image, the most important image on the top left. And recommend to place the button, okay, on the terminal area, which is the lower right. So above and below the fold, it's very obvious. Always put your important information above the fold, because below the fold means you need to scroll in order to review the images or contents. Okay, you need to scroll down in order to review the content. So the purpose of navigation, why do we have navigations? To give the user something to hold on to. They know where they are. Okay? And how to use the website. So navigation will also give the user some clue of what content and how to group the contents. And they also give the user confidence in the people who live it. Once we have all clear and defined navigations, it gives a good impression to the user. So in navigations we have we recommend to have a persistent navigation which consists of 5 different types of elements. First of all, you must have a site ID. Without site ID, no one will be able to tell that this is a website. What's the name of the website? Then put the sections, a way to go home. Okay? If you feel that putting a way to go home, a home icon or home link over here is too old school, you can also indicate that the site ID also serves as a way to go home. Okay? A way to search. Yeah. Of course, the search can also be presented with a search field. If you feel that you prefer to let the user insert the keyword directly. And utility, it is information that support the website. It is not the main content, but it provides support to the user. Okay, choosing the right controls. We are now in the designing of form. How to design a user-friendly form? Because not many users love to use form. How many of you love to use the form? How many, right? Yeah. Sometimes I also reluctant to fill in a form where allow me to win $1 million. Because if the form is so long, I'm reluctant to even give it a try. So you have to choose the right control to make it easier for the user to fill in, and you'll be able to get the data or get the transaction completed. So how to choose the right control? First of all, let's focus on radio buttons. Radio buttons only allow you to have one choice. And it's recommended up to 8 options. Why? Because if you clutter a page with more than 8 options, it will actually turn the user off because it looks messy and difficult to navigate the page. Okay, radio buttons only allow up to 1 choice. So it's commonly used for binary options, and it's not applicable for the select or deselect type of buttons. Okay? So checkboxes, like what the name suggests, allow multiple choices. So up to 8 options, very similar to radio buttons. Is able to use to select binary options? No, not exactly. Checkboxes allow the user to have multiple selections, okay? And can be used to select all. So what if you have more than 8 options? You can actually choose to present it with a single selection list box. List boxes. And use the multiple selection list boxes if you have more than 8 multiple choices. So when you are designing a form and using a radio button control, you have to ensure that it is clearly labeled. Okay. Push button can be represented with graphics as well, but you have to make sure that it is clear enough that it's clickable. This is what we have covered before. How to label your button. You have to be concise. Always use a verb. Verb means action word. Okay? To submit to search. Okay, it's a verb where you encourage actions. Always capitalize each word. And to make your form more friendly for the user, you have to also learn how to organize the information according to the nature of the field. And according to research, a dot align label allow the user to complete the form at a shorter time. Okay, so once you have the form, there'll be a tendency of error message. Okay, this is to prompt the user to fill the form according to what you have specified. But as you know, as a user, a lot of time we are afraid to see error message, right? Yeah, because through my years of experience working with students and observing how the student works, whenever you encounter any error, before you read the message, quickly close the alert box. I don't know why. So how to debug? Yeah, so of course, not many people like to see the alert boxes. Me too, I don't like it. So we have to make it more positive and friendly so that the user be able to know exactly what's went wrong to correct the issues. So always consider the user need, okay, to eliminate, to avoid any error as much as possible. Okay. So if you have no choice but to prompt an error, what do you think of this error? What's wrong here? First of all, system error. What do you mean by system error? Okay. Then printer not found. So what can I do? Why printer not found? Why there's a exclamation mark and abort retry ignore? Seriously, I also don't know what to do. Okay, so how can we actually improve an error message like this? Always give the appropriate title, because the user then will be able to comprehend that this alert box is from the printer or from the system or from the applications. And with a more positive message, will allow the user to handle the issue more positively. Okay, do you want to select a different printer? This will guide the user to answer or select the button accordingly. Okay. Compared to the buttons on the left, this yes or no is easier to handle for the user. So next we move on to human information processing model. Okay, this is how this is where we focus on how our memory works and how human process the informations and transfer whatever we see with our sensory memory to short-term memory, and how we actually repeatedly go through certain tasks, certain words, in order to transfer our short-term memory to long-term memory. Okay. So memory is sensory. It goes through our five senses. And of course, everyone will interpret the information differently. Okay, once it's processed, it usually is very short, within 3 seconds. If I manage to catch your attention, then it will go into your working memory. Okay, human can usually handle about 7 items of information. Yeah. So based on this, I know today, whatever I cover, many of you will not be able to remember. I have almost 70 slides. Yes, it's 10 times more than what you can handle. When I was preparing these revisions, I was also thinking, How can I squeeze an entire semester into one lecture? How? Okay, that's why we can only do a very quick refresher course to go through everything. Hopefully you'll be able to refresh your memory starting from all the way to week 1. And with that, I highly encourage you to download past year paper from library. Do you know where to download your exam paper? Past year? Yeah. Download 2014 and 2015 exam paper. Okay? And work on it. Find time to work on it within these 2 weeks. On week 17, I will have another revision. Okay, that revision will cover these 2 exam papers. Okay, you will only take advantage and benefit from the week 17 revision if only you try to work on the exam paper at your own time and your own pace. If you didn't try the exam paper and just go to the week 17 revision, you will not benefit much. Okay? Yeah. So, working memory. This is according to research, human can only handle about seven plus minus 2. So it's between 5 to 9 at once. So having more than 7 choices imposes a greater burden. That's the reason why our admin number, our phone number, IC number, postal code number, a lot of all these numbers is within the span of 5 to 9 numbers. There's always a reason for everything. Okay? So, and it can be transferred into long-term memory if only you learn a technique to encode. Okay? Okay. So learning the technique to encode means you have to, different people have different manner. Okay? So one of the most commonly practiced method is go through exercise, repetitive exercise. Okay? Then you transfer to your long-term memory, and long-term memory, it takes more time and effort to retrieve as well, and also depends on how we interpret things. Okay, so principle of interaction design is actually based on a lot of all those principles that we have covered. Okay, all those Gutenberg diagram, gesture principles, all these are the foundation for principle of interaction design. Okay, that include visibility, feedback, mapping, affordance, consistency, and constraint. Visibility refers to crafted informations. You have difficulty finding informations, okay, with poor visibility. And feedback, feedback can be audio, can be with light feedback, okay. Can also a change of cursor icon, can be the hyperlink change from blue to purple, or a hyperlink when you hover can be changed to a different icons. Okay, so these are feedback. Of course, feedback can be like a progressive bar when you are downloading or something is downloading on your web page system. What kind of graphics? What kind of feedback you receive? Percentage, right? Or even a bar showing gradual improvement or gradual speed of this download. Okay, so mapping, yeah, it shows the relationship between the control and how it affects. So if we want to click to the next page, usually you will have the arrow button pointing to the right. Okay, if you want to go back, usually the arrow will point to the left. This is what we mean by mapping, natural mapping. Okay, affordance, when you encounter a 3D buttons, this is the most obvious one that it gives the user a clue that is skippable. Okay? Just like a handlebar. When you see a handle, most users will assume that the door is able to pull. Okay? If there isn't any handle, you will assume that the door is pushable instead of using the pull method. Consistency is also another principle of interaction design. Okay. And consistency across pages or according to our understanding about most best practices. Okay. Consistency within the OS constraint is an approach where you'll be able to prevent error. So, yeah. Constraint. What's another example of constraint? Vertical scroll bar. Okay. So to the user, once they click on it, they know that it is constrained to up and down when they click on a vertical scroll bar. So this will prevent error from happening. Forgiveness, once a web page enable this, you allow the user to undo or even remove or delete an item from the shopping cart. Minimalism is to keep the web page or app simple for user benefit. Okay. Basically, it's to declutter. So there are other principles of design that include metaphor. That means having a kind of a graphics that is very similar to our natural language. Okay. So if you see cloud with dots, most users will relate this as a raining day. So this metaphor usually follow the real world conventions. So basis of a visual design.
No.
We have color, images, and text. So in our color, this is what I've summarized. All the color into one, just one page. Always provide a high contrast text and background color. Okay? So if you have a light background, always use a darker text. Okay? And vice versa. But of course, there are certain colors that you should avoid: blue and red. Blue never go well with red because they are color from the opposite spectrum of the color wheel. Okay? So most users are unable to read this text correctly or easily. Red against green against red. Why? This is also not recommended. Why?
No, that's why I never use. It's very light.
Because a user with colorblind may not be able to tell the difference.
Okay. Colorblind.
So internationalization and localizations. Internationalization. How many of you go through the slides during the e-learning room? No. Okay. Internationalization. Why do we have to design a page? Design a web page to target international user. Because the Singapore market is so small. If you have a business venture, online business venture, it's always better to expand your business after you have established your local presence. Just like Uber, Airbnb, they started locally in their home ground, but later on expand to the global market in order to expand their business and generate better revenue. So what to do when you intend to bring your website or applications to the global market. You have to isolate culturally specific elements from a product. What do you mean by that? Okay. So take for example, some of the sales tagline that we see recently is say, don't say bonjour, right? Don't say bonjour. Do you know what's that? Yeah, don't say bonjour. That means don't say I didn't tell you, or don't say I didn't inform you about this great deal. So in a local context, you might understand, oh, this is a very good bargain that I shouldn't miss. But for an American, okay, if you want to reach out to international market, they might not understand what is bonjour. Yeah. So you have to isolate cultural specific elements if you want to go international. But if you want to, sometimes when international app want to go local, okay, they also have to make it localized. Okay. So this is when you'll be able to insert some local elements. Sometimes international player would like to include local presence, local accents or slang, so that the user might feel closer, might feel more at ease to accept that kind of relationship with the online product. Okay, we have covered that. So internationalization considerations include words, text, format elements such as number, dates, dates and time. Okay, this is especially important when dates. In Singapore, we always put the month in the middle, right? But for US, it's different. Their month is always in front. Okay, so when you are targeting an international market, then you have to be more specific in the way you write your date format. Okay. So what is usability evaluations? We have covered 3 types of evaluations. Eye-tracking studies, heuristic evaluations, and usability tests. Eye-tracking studies observe how the user look at, okay, how they look at the contents of your web page. Whereas heuristic evaluations require an expert in the usability design in order to assess an application or web page. Okay? Similarly, usability tests also require an expert to conduct the study. So, the last topic is mobile usability, where we cover 3 different types of mobile solutions. First of all, is a native app, okay? Then hybrid apps, and web app full site or mobile optimized site. Native app basically is whatever apps that you can find from App Store or Google Play Store. Okay. Then hybrid apps is what you have produced or developed in HTML5 and package it so that it can be made available in the App Store. So different solutions actually has its pros and cons. Okay. So this table actually summarizes all the advantages and disadvantages. You'll be able to, when you select what kind of solutions you like to adopt, you also need to bear in mind why you are selecting that, and able to articulate what is the advantages, what are the advantages when you select that solutions. Okay. So nowadays a lot of our application web pages are still produced for the desktop first. But if you are requested to convert the desktop version for the mobile user, there are several constraints that you need to look into. Okay, the first one is the screen size. There will be a change of screen size. So the screen size might affect the way you lay out the contents and your navigation. So once you look into this, you have to ensure that the contents always come first for mobile user. Okay. Next is the performance. You have to use lesser images because always take for mobile user the data usage and also the data speed, download speed will be very different to the desktop user, which always has constant wired network. Okay. So once when targeting a mobile user, where they will be using the website with a touchscreen device, so all your touch target must be bigger. Okay. So the minimum is 33 pixels for any touch targets. Okay, that's covered by the all the studies for different OS. Okay, that's all I have. Yeah, we managed to cover all the topics. Okay, I hope